whole to order. And Tony, can we have a roll call, please?
Arenas, Cohen,
Here.
Davis,
Here.
Perales, Jones,
Present.
going back to Arenas
Here.
and
Thank you.
Perales. And Perales,
Here.
thank you. You have a quorum.
Great, thank you. So we're going to start out with the agenda for June 28th. And we're going to start out on pages 4 and 5. And 6 and 7. And 8 and 9. And 10 and 11. Twelve and 13. And 14 and 15. And 16 and 17. And 18 and 19. And 20 and 21. And 22 and 23. And there is an ad sheet for the maker of the motion, and we're going to go to public comments first.
Beekman,
Hi, Blair Beekman. Happy heading towards the end of June. I wanted to comment on the upcoming power energy ideas of the council meeting, community power energy mixed use ideas. But I'm going to save that for maybe, I guess, next week. I guess to comment on the Measure T work plan and implementation things coming up. Good luck how to really include Measure T ideas more in your future. They're looking for new ideas how to grow a bit as a body. Good luck how to help that process with them to be a more community focused minded open process. They're looking for good answers. I think so is city government. Good luck what you can work towards. The independent police auditor report and an internals repair report is recommended to be deferred until August. I thought I should just report on that at this time. Good luck on how to work on that issue. I think there can be some good community meetings this summer with community that can help address, make things relevant and important so we can be ready for that August meeting. And there's anti-displacement issues, and there's also community engagement consultants. Good luck in those efforts. Those are efforts, you know, I'm always trying to look for ways that the community can be more involved with things. The mayor and yourselves talked yesterday how, you know, the housing project on the west side, that's a community effort. Good luck how we can really work on community things coming up in the next 6 months and into the next mayoral administration. Thank you for your time.
All right, that's it for public comments. So I'm going to go to Lee, load balance question. Is this agenda have the proper load balance, that we're not going to be there till the middle of the night?
Again, Vice Mayor, I won't promise when you will end, but I can assure you the staff has been over this, and items that legally or operationally don't need to be heard have been pushed off into August. So while it is an intense and long agenda, as you can see, there's several deferrals into the month of August.
Okay, I appreciate that. And will you also commit that there won't be any District 1 land use items that will be added to that agenda?
I can do my best.
Okay, I appreciate that. And we'll make the motion, make note of that. Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I wanted to ask, I saw it doesn't have it has a regular start time of 1:30. Are we sticking with that recommendation?
Yeah, so right now we are recommending closed session starts at its normal time of 9:30 and regular open session at 1:30.
Okay, and then I noticed that the item from my district that was on consent last week that got deferred, or for yesterday, that got deferred to next week is not on consent now. Is there a reason for that?
What item is that, council member?
It was 10.1A on yesterday's agenda, deferred to next week, and I see it is not on consent now. It's on, it's 10.2.
Yeah, I believe that is because we received inquiries on a discussion. So
Okay.
let me check with the agenda services team offline, but I believe that's why it's been taken off consent.
Okay, I see that Councilmember Arenas has her hand up, so I will wait and she can make the motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Arenas.
Well, I was going to make a motion to defer any District 1 land use items.
Thank you.
But I don't hear a second, Vice Mayor, so I'm going to keep going. My question is around 3.4, actions related to the Measure T status report on the work plan and implementation updates. And so I see that there's a staff recommendation to defer the policy decision to funding projects identified in Table 4. And then, of course, in parentheses, there's Lake Cunningham piece. Why is that policy decision deferred so long?
Councilmember Lee Wilcox again. My understanding after talking to staff today is towards the end of the year, they'll have more costs of the existing projects fine-tuned, and it's a better time for you to actually make that policy call once they understand how much they're going to need or how much they can keep in reserve. So my understanding is basically they give you more information before the council weighs in on that policy discussion.
Well, it's what comes first, the chicken or the egg. I think you have to decide the priority before you decide, so that you can decide on funding rather than have funding decide for you. I would prefer not to have the decision deferred until next year. I'm hoping until maybe the end of the year in December, if that is potentially long enough to create buffer to give staff some time to put that together.
Yeah, I can definitely check in with the team. Nora, I don't know if we would change the language on this agenda since there's already a staff recommendation and it's posted, or that's something the council member would need to recommend at council on Tuesday. What's our flexibility?
Since it's already, this is always difficult. Since it's already on the agenda, is it just a return that you want, council member?
Yeah, so it's the defer, so that the deferral, instead of it being in February, for it to be deferred to December of this year.
Oh, okay. And that's just the Measure T. Yeah, you can ask for that. It's an acceptance of the status report, and you can ask for that type of return and the council can either agree or not agree. That's fine. That type of change is okay because it's not a change in the action or what we're requesting council to do.
Well, I'm wondering, can I do that now in the rules committee?
Oh, because it's already on.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah,
so
I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question. Yeah, so technically it's already on the agenda and it's set up with the December return. So I really think it would have to be asked or requested at the council meeting, council member.
Okay. Okay, got it. All right.
Thank you. Thanks.
Say in the count.
No problem.
In the meantime, Councilmember Reyes, I'll have Kip Harkness and Matt Cano follow up with you on that to make sure that, that they're able to meet that December timeline if you'd like to move forward with that.
I appreciate that. And, I've made efforts to ensure that there's some budget set up for any overages that there are in the projects. And so I'm very cognizant that our public safety infrastructure needs to be protected and
Councilmember
I get
Reyes?
that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you cut out for a second. Go ahead.
Oh, that's so strange. Oh, no, that I was just saying that I'm very cognizant of the needs of our public safety infrastructure. And so I want to make sure that it just works for everyone. So anyways, thank you. And I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, with the ad sheet?
Yeah, with the ad sheets and no District 1 land use items on the record.
Thank you so much. Then did I hear a second?
I'll second. And if a D1 item does come up, I'll make sure to make the motion on it.
You know what? I'm going to include that in my motion so that you don't make a motion on D1 land use items. I'll just put that on the record too.
Thank you. Tony, I think you should get a roll call before we go
Yeah.
totally off the rails.
But Vice Mayor, may I just make one comment on the motion and call
Sure.
something out that I need to call out? On the ad sheet, E26 may have a legal issue, so we may be bringing that forward to council next week with a little bit of a change up. That's all.
Okay, I appreciate it, Nora. I thought you were going to say we can't have humor with our motions. I'm glad,
You can have all the humor
I'm
you
glad you
want.
didn't do that. Anyway, Tony?
Arenas,
Yes.
Cohen,
Aye.
Davis,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
Jones.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the consent calendar. And let's go to public comments first.
Blair,
Hi, Blair Beekman here. You have some dumpster days in your consent calendar this week, and it's nice, as you often do. And I haven't mentioned them for a while. I thought I would just mention that the idea of dumpster days, I think, is a great idea on a Saturday afternoon for or possibly a weekday, but especially on a Saturday morning for a dumpster to be placed in a local neighborhood, and for people of all around the neighborhood to be able to put in their stuff. I think it's providing a great service, and it's an interesting concept that I think San Jose is really interestingly addressing the trash issues, and they're making that extra effort. And it can be a real community good experience for all parts of the community to attend. Thanks a lot for it. Thanks for your work, San Jose, on this issue of trash and how to address our trash in San Jose. To mention Councilperson Jones' ideas of fun, it's ideas of humor and fun and enjoyment. So thank you. There's also there's going to be a gun study meeting coming up in August, gun study session. Thank you for that. To further my words from last week, I think it's a real important time that all parts of the community can weigh in on the concepts of how they want the future of their government to work well. And it's a lesson in how our community can band together towards better bureaucratic practices of our government and good oversight to make sure that they're following the letter and working towards good counseling programs, for domestic violence and other issues. Good luck how we can hold government accountable on those terms. I think that's the purpose of this sort of gun laws and gun fees that I think is hopeful for all of us. Thank you.
Back to the committee.
All right. Councilmember Arenas, you had your hand.
Oh, I
you
apologize.
wanna
That
speak
was
to
from
this?
last time.
I'll move approval of the consent calendar.
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion in 2 seconds. So Tony,
Arenas,
yes.
Cohen,
Aye.
Davis,
Yes.
Morales,
Yes.
Jones.
aye.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is collaboration with the county regarding high-risk repeat offenders. And before we go to Councilmember Mann, we'll go to the public first.
Arshawn Kiani.
Hello, my name is Arshawn and I'm a student in San Jose. I've lived in San Jose all my life and it's been a place of opportunity for me. But as we come out of COVID lockdowns and start to return back to life as normal, it's really essential that the city and the county provide safety for every single citizen. Looking at statistics from the government, it's been quite shocking. Not only is there an uptick in crime, but our justice system just isn't working the way it's supposed to. We can't allow repeat offenders to endanger public safety and keep going in and out of prison. Because I've seen the violent effects and terrible effects of crime in my own neighborhood, like instances of car break-ins, I urge the committee to pass this memo today for a full discussion in council. This shouldn't really be treated as a question of politics because every single day that we wait, more and more people are being released back into our neighborhoods because we're not holding repeat offenders accountable. Because our elected officials have an obligation to hold violent repeat offenders accountable and keep our communities safe, I urge the committee to pass this memo. Thank you for your time.
Arushi.
Hi, my name is Arushi, and I'm also a student in San Jose. And as a citizen here, I've come to enjoy the typical city pastime activities with my friends and family. I'd like to ensure that the city and county government continue to provide a high level of safety so this quality of life can continue. The statistics coming out of the county are alarming, and I urge the committee to pass this memorandum today for full discussion at the council. Please do not make this a political matter or push this off, since these people continue to be released back into our neighborhoods. This community will keep track and hold accountable those responsible with each crime that occurs at the hands of a violent repeat offender or someone who fails to appear in court. So I urge you to continue to have this discussion at council.
Okay. Stanton.
Hello, I'm Stanton. I am also a student in San Jose. Growing up in San Jose, I've always enjoyed it as like a very safe community. I remember playing basketball in my local park, very fondly as a kid, playing catch with my dad, etc. But it seems like recently, the safety and security of our city has been endangered. It's really the obligation of the city and county governments to protect their constituents. And that's why I'm asking you guys to pass this memorandum today for full discussion at the council. I can't speak towards the statistics, but just personally, in the last month, I've had packages stolen. I've had my house robbed. I've very, very up close and personal experienced, the lack of security in our city. And so I urge you guys to pass this memorandum for further discussion. Thank you.
Rose Sullivan.
Yes, thank you. My name is Rose Sullivan, and I'm a San Jose resident, and I also oversee a few commercial properties with retail tenants. I want to affirm Matthew Mahan's stand on repeat offenders. It is a hardship on property owners as well as retailers, both residential property owners as well as commercial. When it comes to the drug addiction and people on meth, I don't believe they should be allowed to be released or repeatedly released. They are truly a danger to the community. And you know, I don't understand why we are releasing violent offenders. And you know, I understand that some crimes may not be considered violent. And I know that's a topic for the legislation that has to change on Prop 47. And if there's anything any of you can do on that, it would be greatly appreciated because it is hurting so many people. Just one small comment for this gun study. Nothing should violate our Second Amendment. And I hope that you'll just take that into consideration, that you will not infringe on the Second Amendment. And that's it. Thank you.
Mayor Beekman.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. A procedural point that I like, you know, the efficiency and neatness of sometimes Council President Jones, Vice Mayor Jones asks for public comment first for these sort of items. But I think it would be nice to hear the staff report first before public comment to simply note procedurally for the future. You know, for this item, boy, I'm just a big muddled mess on how to better understand this issue. But I'm really, you know, I understand that we're trying to find ways to tighten up ourselves on crime issues a bit. And you know, you've done Laura's Law things, and I've noted that, you know, to encourage and to invite the people, the people who've committed crime themselves to their own therapy and how to really create that sort of process for them. That's, I think, an important thing that we don't talk about enough, that we should, that how can that be a process that they can understand that they do have choices towards rehabilitation, and it really can work. Really can work if we address it well. These kind of measures, I understand they're needed, but I really have to give the example of Paul Soto, who really wasn't doing anything wrong, but he has been slammed back into the jail prison system when he shouldn't have to have been. And I think we're all hurting from that. And I think we're all trying to better cope and understand what we could have done, and Paul too, what Paul could have also done, so we wouldn't have to be stuck in that situation we were with Paul. Good luck how we work on these sort of things. I mean, we have to be really careful how we move forward with this stuff. Good luck how we have this sort of conversation. Thank you.
David Heindel.
Good evening, or excuse me, afternoon. David Heindel. Wear a lot of hats, including owning a Hot Works business in downtown San Jose on Santa Clara Street between Market and First. We just replaced our front window due to it being destroyed one night. Every single storefront on our block has been destroyed at some point over the last 2 years. I also am the president of my homeowners association. Our community pool was broken into 2 of the last 3 nights. We're trying to figure out what to do about that. And I'm also a founding member of the All District Leadership Group, which is all 10 districts in the city. Clearly, the fact that for us at our homeowners association, we're trying to decide whether to hire security to watch our neighborhood for the catalytic converters and the like. But the conversation ends up with, well, they'll just get out again and nothing will happen. And so why bother? And so this effort to try to address people who are multiple offenders, 30 people over 10, is something that seems to be germane for the council to discuss. I urge you to discuss it at your next meeting and hopefully move forward with a proposal or a similar proposal as Council Member Mahan has suggested. Thank you. Bye.
Eva.
Eva has to update her Zoom.
Okay, Eva, you need to sign off, update your Zoom, and then sign back on. I have 9 other hands up, so you should have enough time to get back on. Edwin Moreno.
Good afternoon. My name is Edwin Moreno. I'm a resident of San Jose, but I'm also a vice principal of a charter high school in the east side. I'm calling in support of Council Members Mayhem's public safety memo. Our city has unfortunately seen a rise in crime in recent years, and yet our jails are sitting at half capacity. It doesn't make sense for the county to release known criminals into our communities. This year alone, I've had to make several calls because we had individuals on our site who were under the influence of drugs, trying to get violent or physical with some of our staff members and some of our students. There was a situation where there was indecent exposure involved. And so as someone who's in charge of student safety, this is a big concern for me. And I'm saddened to know that the county is currently releasing individuals who have committed serious crimes or crimes that have historically escalated to murder, rape, or other serious offenses. Many individuals are released back into our streets, and after having robbed a store, committed domestic violence, lewd behavior, or drug possession, they're released on the promise that they will appear in court, never to return, and the revolving door just continues. So the county must collaborate with the city and the San Jose Police Department to ensure that dangerous individuals are kept off our streets and that we apprehend and detain those who have active warrants for failing to appear in court. Many tragedies could be avoided this way. So please support Council Members Mayhem's memo and help keep our communities, our children safe. Thank you for this time.
Alejandra.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Alejandra and I'm a resident of San Jose in District 7. I'm also a mom of an 8-year-old girl and I work at a high school in the east side of San Jose. I'm calling in support of Councilmember Mayhem's public safety memo. Our city has unfortunately seen a rise in crime in recent years, and yet our jails are still sitting at half capacity. It doesn't make sense for the county to release known criminals into our communities. As a mom, I'm saddened to know that the county is currently releasing individuals who have committed serious crimes or crimes that have historically escalated to murder, rape, or other serious offenses. Many individuals are released back into our streets after having robbed a store, committed domestic violence, lewd behavior, or drug possession. They're released on a promise that they will appear in court, never to return, and the revolving door continues. The county must collaborate with the city and SJPD to ensure that dangerous individuals are kept off of our streets and that we apprehend and detain those who have active warrants for failing to appear in court. Many tragedies could be avoided this way. Please support Councilmember Mayhem's memo and keep our community safe. Thank you.
Becky Garcia.
Hi, everyone. Becky Garcia, San Jose resident. I'm calling in support of Councilmember Mayhem's memo. I have a daughter who works retail, and I regularly fear for her safety, especially when she's dealing with people who are dangerous to themselves and others, or, repeated shoplifters who are getting more and more bold. So, it would be great if there is a way that we can stop violent offenders or offenders who have the huge potential to become violent and keep them off our streets. I also hope to see improved rehabilitation programs, whether this includes vocational or substance abuse, but programs that truly work and help these people not become repeat offenders, so we don't just put a Band-Aid on the issue. Thank you.
John Hessler.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm calling in support of Councilmember Mayhem's memo regarding this subject. I'm on the board of directors of the Santa Teresa Foothills Neighborhood Association, and one of the things we hear most from our membership is the decrease in the quality of life due to a lot of these crimes being committed in our neighborhood, larceny and vandalism. And talking to our local police on the beat, they are very discouraged that they work hard to arrest these folks, and then before you know it, they're back on the street again because they know there are no consequences. So this is not something that is where we're in favor of, and we would like some change in how things are operated with the county, and point out that the recent Home Depot fire was probably one of the most egregious examples. It turns out that, as most of you probably know, it was arson, and that the person who set the fire was somebody who had been arrested repeatedly in recent years, but yet was out on the street. So again, calling in support of the memo. Thank you.
Lorena?
Hello, my name is Lorena Solorio. I am a resident at District 8, and I am also calling in support of Councilmember Matt Mahan's public safety memo. Our city has unfortunately seen a rise in crime in recent years, and not just our city, but also District 8 in my neighborhood. And I am deeply concerned about the constant car break-ins in my street alone, public drug use even in front of my house, home break-ins or invasions, traffic accidents that are going out of control just here in this area. And my family and I are worried every time we leave our home for fear of break-ins. And also as a mother of two young adult women, I'm also really scared for their safety when they come to and from their work to home. And so I'm just asking for this committee to please support this memo, and even offer some solutions to do when you are releasing these offenders, to do it in a very responsible manner where you're always putting public safety first, whether it's offering rehabilitation services for substance abuse, mandatory mental health services for some of these offenders if they need it, and even community service hours, or there's so many other, so much data that has been proven to work that we're not even using in this county. And so I would really like for this to be done in a very responsible way, and where accountability is number one, but also your public safety is always at top of mind. If you need to find more information, all of you hold community meetings in your districts and you listen to your constituents, please listen and do something about this. It's really concerning to many of us who have children who work in schools and listen to our students' pain and anxiety over crime.
Greg?
Hello, my name is Greg Trapp. I'm a 50-year resident of the city of San Jose, and I'm a retired San Jose police officer. And I remember the days when San Jose was known as the safest large city in the United States. We were proud of that. The reason it's changed is criminals know that there are not consequences in the city of San Jose anymore. We have repeat offenders that get out. As a police officer, when I was hired, we knew that 10% of the population would be 90% of our work. I think those numbers have probably changed, but it's still a small percentage of the population that causes the most crime. To release that percentage back into the neighborhood, into the communities, is not safe, it's not healthy, and that's why people in San Jose are afraid to go out in public. The city of San Jose needs to do whatever it can, and it needs to pressure the county to do whatever it can to hold those that break the law responsible for what they've done. There have to be consequences. We have to stop this no bail. We have to stop the release. We have to stop the revolving door. And this is one step to do that, and I am supportive of the memo. Thank you.
Clyde? Clyde Beck? Okay, I'm going to move on to Paul. Paul? Okay, I'm going to move on to Elisa. Elisa Godey. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes. I can hear
Can you
you.
hear me now?
Okay, yes, I can hear you now, Lisa. Thank you.
My
Go
name
ahead.
is Lisa Gouti. I'm a 44-year resident of the city of San Jose. This is a place where my children and grandchildren grew up and became respectable citizens. The issue of security in our city has become a high concern of mine. Any step to make our city safe should be taken with utmost responsibility. I encourage the City Council Rules Committee to direct the city manager to decide which category of repeat offenders the San Jose PD should direct the $300,000 to rearrest offenders recently authorized by the City Council. This is a step that will indicate the council concern for public security and the responsibility of accountability too. Thank you so much.
Eva?
Buenas tardes, ¿me escuchan?
I'm sorry, I don't have interpreters for this meeting.
Okay, so one more time. So thanks God that I trying to do my best also in English, but I feel more comfortable in my own language. So first of all, I request to have every meeting translation. And then, yes, I support the memo for council and safety. Personally, I work in a shopping mall for 20 years, and I see the crime around. I'm scared, and thanks God I just switch up. But my daughter, which is only 16, she's still doing that job as a part-time, as a student. I'm worried. I just hear in the news a couple of weeks ago about the Safeway killing a young man. And I really feel sorry for them. I'm a mom. I'm afraid. I had 2 daughters. I had to teach it how to take care of themselves, even, cross the street because it is not safety anymore. I asking to support that memo. I asking to call the community, hold meetings and public meetings so everybody can participate and give us our opinion. Yes, and I know as an immigrant, I know this is gonna be it might be scary, but we have to work together. This is a sanctuary, San Jose community, and then yes, I support that, and I say just please hold meetings for the community so everybody can participate. I think everybody right now is worried about the safety. Thank you so much.
Sherry?
Yes, good afternoon. I hope you can hear me. I am in support and I'm urging the council to pass Councilman Mayen's memo. I'm looking at this from a similar size as everyone else. However, I did previously work in the men's jail downtown in booking, where I personally have seen gentlemen released, and then I am rebooking them on the same shift for the similar crimes. In the past, I think people felt safe, which they no longer feel because it is now affecting everyone. In the past, you would read about crimes and think, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I don't live near there. But now everyone is being affected no matter where they live. And people are not being held accountable. And I don't think that there's necessarily enough employees to supervise people that are being released. So I urge this memo to be passed and the $300,000 to be used to help hire people just for people that are out on FTAs and show them that, yes, they cannot just walk away from their date in court, that we will hold them accountable. Thank you.
Clyde?
Yes, yeah, I would like to speak in favor of Mr. Mayen's memo for several reasons. One is that I often see reports on something called Next Door, where people have feelings of helplessness because of the crimes that consistently happen in their neighborhoods. My wife and I have been leaders of a ministry of our church, Venture Christian Church, which reaches out to children and teens that are in the area of poor family and other things, and they often end up in crimes. Despite our efforts to help them see that they don't have to join gangs and things like that, but they can achieve in school and things like that and have a better future. One of our failures is a young man who is currently in prison for robbery and stealing a car, armed robbery. And he is somewhat repentant of his situation and has about a year or so to go. And he's hoping that he will be able to have support when he gets out in the community to not repeat his criminal activities. And he's shared some thoughts with me. One is that there needs to be some method of showing the people who are repeatedly doing the crimes that they are going to be held accountable like he has been. It's not enough to release somebody because their crime is only less than a few dollars.
Paul? Paul? Okay, Paul was our last speaker, so I'm going to go back to the committee.
Thank you, Tony. We're going to go to Councilmember Mahan.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. I appreciate that. Hi, everybody. I want to thank all the community members who took the time today to come out and share their personal experiences and their perspective on some of the public safety issues that we face. I know you all had a pretty lengthy conversation with Mayor Liccardo about 8 weeks ago about a much more detailed, larger group memo that he and I and Councilmember Carrasco worked on together. So I'm not gonna, in the interest of everyone's time, I'm not gonna rehash that, although many of the statistics there and examples are relevant to this conversation. I do want to just note for my colleagues that I issued a revised memo that is narrower than what the early consideration response form referred to, and I am going to ask Lee and Nora in a moment to just react to the replacement memo that's there, because the earlier one was a bit broader, and I fully appreciate that some of the things that I was asking for there would be more appropriately handled during the joint study session that I believe you all decided 8 weeks ago we should move forward with the county, and I believe is now being scheduled for the fall. So that's great. Today, with the revised memo before you, I'm really here with two very targeted, very narrow and concrete recommendations that I'd at a minimum like to see us discuss it at our next council meeting, and hope that we can move forward prior to the joint study session that we've contemplated having with the county. So let me just quickly say what those two things are, and then I'd love to hear from Lee and Nora, since we don't have an early consideration form for those items, what their capacity looks like. So the first, very specifically, as you all know, is we've all agreed through our budget process that our police department ought to spend a little more time and energy rearresting high-risk repeat offenders who have failed to appear in court. I think we all acknowledge the public safety risk there, and that was unanimously passed through the budget process, not just as direction, but also some additional funding. That's the $300,000 that I've referred to here. The specific thing I'd like to see us do, and I think would be prudent, given that we have this phenomenon of people being released post-booking but pre-trial, even if they have serious criminal histories, is to have the city manager reach out to the county executive to get some clarity around which high-risk repeat offenders we should spend our time rearresting. I think, repeatedly filling a leaky bucket is not a great use of anybody's time. And our police department has many more important things to do than pick people up simply to have them released the same day and then not appear for their day in court. So I think we need to collaborate with the county. And I don't think that there is any reason for us to wait for a joint study session to just get some clarity around the rules of the road. But frankly, today we don't have that, which is part of why we are spending a lot of time arresting folks who we think ought to be in jail and then discovering that they are right back out the next day or the same day. So that's point one, is just getting that alignment and clarity around which of the folks who we've already allocated funds now to go apprehend are actually worth spending our time apprehending. And hopefully we can get some alignment there. That would be a step forward incrementally before the joint study session. The second recommendation is for city attorney and her team, which is in the process of researching the many facets of these issues. Our Brown Act group has discovered that the state constitution makes very clear that decisions about pretrial release ought to be solely made at the discretion or exclusively made at the discretion of the courts, judges. And yet, since the beginning of COVID, we've seen a delegation of authority to an administrative level, which I think is really part of why we're seeing inconsistency and a high rate of pretrial release and then reoffense and failure to appear. And I think it would behoove us as a city prior to the joint study session to have the city attorney and her team do a little research on whether or not we believe this is a lawful delegation of powers and what recourse we might have. Obviously, this is first and foremost a huge public safety question for our community. But second, it's also a question of respecting our police force, using our taxpayer dollars effectively, and carrying out our public safety function in an efficient way. We don't control most of the public safety system. We basically do some prevention work, and then we do law enforcement through our police department. And we need to make sure the rest of the system is actually meeting us halfway and functioning. And I know we're gonna have a much broader conversation at the study session, but I think going into that meeting, it's really important that we have our own independent legal analysis of what's currently happening and have a discussion at the council as to, and that probably ought to be within closed session, what the city attorney's assessment of that practice is and whether or not it's lawful, and sort of know what our options and leverage may be. I think the city and county are still not on the same page, and doing our own independent analysis prior to that meeting is pretty important. So that's what the two are. And since the early consideration form refers to an earlier version of the memo, maybe I could just ask Lee and Nora if they can share anything about their capacity and their work plans and whether or not this fits. And then if we have Paul Joseph or a representative from the police department on, I would also be interested to just hear their very quick perspective on the value of getting this information early and potentially before the study session. Chair, is that okay? Can I direct that question to Lee and Nora?
Yes, go ahead, Lee.
Thank you, council member. In all honesty, I just want to say thank you for the text message about 15 minutes ago. I was not aware that there was a replacement memo or a revised memorandum. I'm not exactly sure what's happening with the notification system. So
yeah, I'm sorry about that. I did not realize that didn't go out.
Yeah, so I've been able to read it really quick. And just to clarify, your original memorandum had some, policy meat on it. And so that's why we recommended the already kind of scheduled meeting for PIS-FIS in the county's I forget the committee name of it. I think with the revised memorandum on number one, that's work that we're already doing. I have a meeting with the county next week on a variety of issues, and this was part of that request. We obviously, before we go start spending money that you authorized on July 1, we're going to try and be super efficient and strategic with that use of money. So from my perspective, from city manager's office, number one is a green light, because that's work that we're already doing, and Assistant Chief Joseph and I have been in contact.
And Lee, just to interject, what is the mechanism by which the council can be made aware of what you learn? I'm glad to hear that that was something that was on your radar.
You know, we're happy to do something via info memo, if you'd like.
Sure.
You know, I don't know if it'll be 1 meeting or 2 meetings to flesh that out, or if the county needs time. So I would like some flexibility on like the time commitment. And then before handing it off to Nora on number 2, I would just say, you know, the new revised memorandum, I don't think you need to forward it. I would just suggest to the Rules Committee that you don't need to forward it to the full council. At least on number 1, it's a green light. You give us workload analysis all the time on green lights to go out and do this work. So I know that there's a mechanism to report back in closed session for Nora, and would defer when she wants to do that based off of the legal analysis that she needs to do here. But I don't think this memorandum needs to get pushed to the full council at all.
Great.
Thank you, Lee, and thank you, council member. I would agree with that. I'm curious as to what time frame you're thinking about. Would you like an answer to some of this stuff before the study session? Is that what you're thinking?
That was my thought, is that I understand there's a lot of broader conversation we're going to have during that joint study session. I think these are very targeted, concrete places where we need more information before that study session, I believe. And I think that would empower us to both better spend the dollars we just allocated on recommendation 1 and help our police force be more effective. But then on number 2, make sure we go into that study session understanding your analysis.
All right. Well, we can bring it, we can do the work we're going to need to do. As you know, when council leaves in July, the building pretty much clears out also. So I'm going to have a lot of people on vacation. But we'll be able to get this to closed session at some point before that study session for sure.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And then Deputy Chief Joseph, I don't know if you wanted to chime in at all on just kind of the value of having this analysis.
Sure. Thank you, Council Member. I definitely agree that it doesn't make sense to try to go out and arrest people who are failing to appear in court, who have warrants for their arrest, who I would agree with you are contributing to the overall issues of crime that we're seeing in our city. If those people are simply going to be issued a new court date and never spend any more time in custody, it's a source of great frustration for our officers and clearly for the community as well. We hear it often. So I'm looking forward to participating in the study session. I'm looking forward to hearing from the engineers of this program as to whether or not they're even aware of some of the consequences of these releases and how we can work towards, not say that everybody needs to be in jail, but the people that are contributing mightily to our increase in crime, who are being arrested almost on a monthly basis, some of them. These are the people that just need to be in jail, unfortunately, and maybe a more lengthy stay will help them get the services and the resources they need so that they're not reoffending, but clearly that's not happening right now.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, great. Well, thank you. And Vice Mayor, at least for now, that was all I had. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Councilmember Perales.
Yeah, thanks. I hadn't seen the updated memo either, and so wasn't aware that there was a shift. So I appreciate the kind of on the fly discussion here about where that shift may be, because I definitely was getting a sense of deja vu with the memo and then the public comment on where we have already directed, and we have a date. It's not solidified, but early September 8th is what we're looking at. And so, I think we're set to have that discussion with the appropriate partners in the room, because as I think we've mentioned last time, and as was highlighted again this time, we're talking about something that is not within our jurisdiction. Early release or the some of the shifts and changes that were made during the pandemic with the county having more authority, but also it is a bit of a mixture still where the court system and judges still have a lot of leniency, and certainly as it shifts back to that, it becomes even more unclear, honestly, on who or when somebody gets released, or if they get booked at all. That's something that we've always experienced with, because judges in our court system do have a lot of leniency in that regard. And so I think that was why we had redirected this conversation before to a joint session, so that way we could have the appropriate people in the room, and not end up just sort of speaking in our own silo, and ultimately not get the answers we wanted, or not understand what more could be done. So that is happening, and I look forward to that discussion as it comes forward. It sounds like the recommendation, the new recommendation of having a conversation with the county executive in their office there is already going to happen. And then Nora, that gives you some time in August, since this joint session will be September. Hopefully then, right, you don't have to worry about trying to scramble in July with staff that may not be present, and then give you time in August to come back before the beginning of September with a closed session report back to us. So I don't know if we don't need a motion, obviously, to direct this to the council. I don't know if we need a motion at all for either of those things to happen. Maybe you can let me know, Nora.
Let me unmute there. We'll do it. So if you want to formalize it in a motion, you can, but Lee's indicated that his office intends to do the items in number 1, and I've indicated we'll do the items in number 2 and bring that back to closed session. So it doesn't need a formal motion.
Okay,
but it's
great.
It's up to the committee if you want to lock it down.
Okay, thank you. I'm comfortable without it. I will say it was a bit concerning to hear our community members, and for those that are still speaking, seem to have a bit of a misunderstanding on the authorities and jurisdiction. I would say a small handful seem to have a grasp that we are simply trying to have some leverage here, but that ultimately we're not making these decisions on these release dates or who's getting held. Those are out of our jurisdiction, and no matter how much the council, like we're doing today, putting $300,000 to it, that doesn't change that fact on these decisions that are out of our hands today. And so that's where that joint session hopefully will really help us understand better where we could be leveraging if it is indeed we can lobby the county, or if it's a need to at the state level, but ultimately it's not something that's directly within our jurisdiction. And so excuse me, crying child. So I would say that that I don't want people to have the wrong impression that somehow we're going to be able to affect some great change in that regard. And I also think it was a bit concerning to hear that the fact that our jails are not full is some sort of bad indication, right? Or that there's capacity there, and that's an answer to simply utilize the capacity that's in the jails. That shouldn't be anybody's interest. It certainly should be all of our interest to ensure public safety, but I definitely don't think that it's the right indication that that would mean our jails being full is a good indication of that. So just some concerning comments that I think that part of the reality of some misunderstanding that I believe I heard. And so I look forward to the joint study session, and hopefully we can have some better clarity as that moves forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Arenas.
Thank you. Can you hear me, Vice Chair?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Thank you. I want to take us a step back before moving forward with this conversation. I'm really confused about how revisions happen to rules. Now, from what the typical process is that when we as a council office need to submit a memo, those memos are due by Thursday, correct?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Tony?
Okay, so they're due by Thursday, and I believe that's at 12, so that they can be considered for the following week if the agenda so permits. So I had read the memo from Councilmember Mahan on Friday, which is a completely different memo than the one that has been submitted as of yesterday. Which is the first item is in complete opposite in terms of the direction. This is an equivalent to amending and gutting. This is not the same memo. So how can we possibly talk about this item if this was not submitted on time, Nora?
The committee can, the agenda couldn't be changed. The committee can consider the memo if you choose to, and you can determine whether or not you want to send it on to council. Both Lee and I have indicated that it doesn't need to go to council because he's already starting some of the work that was in the posted recommendation. And for us, for my office, there's the subject matter is the same between the two memos. It's not entirely different, but there is direction to my office in this one. And if rules, as I indicated, if rules wants to formalize the consideration of that, you can, but we voluntarily agreed to bring this forward because it's information that the council might want to consider before that study session. So we're voluntarily agreeing to bring it forward.
Okay, so the what was approved in the budget is to take a look at how to rearrest repeat offenders. That seemed to be the focus. It was a one-time funding, and it was overtime for our police officers to focus on rearrest criminal defendants who have failed to appear on their warrants, with priority given to those defendants who face the most serious and violent felony charges or have been previously convicted for the most serious and violent felonies, and allocate funding for non-sworn or overtime staffing for the drafting of high bail affidavits for uniquely dangerous arrestees. Now, this is what the council voted on, and this is in diametric opposition, and like the message is completely opposite of what council member you are providing today, which is to not arrest repeat offenders. And a lot of the folks who called in today, which I was very surprised, probably didn't understand that you had a revised version that says the opposite of what they were asking for. I heard a lot of women asking.
Information.
Excuse me, I'm still speaking. So what the residents have been calling about is their concern about exiting from a job, late hours, and making sure that those folks who commit sexual crimes or kind of predatory crimes are arrested and rearrested. I did not hear not once somebody say, actually, you know what, you should probably spend time better spent for our police officers on folks who do not get re-released. What they were asking for is for us to detain them longer, although that's not our job to detain them longer. It's outside of what we do. But That's not even the point. The point is that what the council voted on was overtime to provide overtime for our police officers to rearrest folks who are repeat offenders. Now, your memo from yesterday or on the 21st, I'm not sure exactly when it changed, says for your item number 1 says quite the opposite. And so I don't know how you can predetermine that we shouldn't rearrest repeat offenders because it's a waste of our police resources. Obviously, where I'm going with this is not in a position of support. It is impossible for our police force to give me enough data around sexual assault, and I've been working on this area for a couple of years now. Councilmember Mahan, you've heard just last week how I've asked for additional data, and it was very alarming to them for me to ask that on an ongoing basis, because they just don't have the analysts, they don't have the resources to do that. So I know that this predetermination of not rearresting repeat offenders is not based on data, at least not the data that our police officers, our police force can provide to you now, because I've been a witness to the lack of resources that we have. How is it, and how is it going to help our city not to rearrest repeat offenders, especially those that have sexual assault allegations against them, since they're the folks who are potentially on a path to increase the severity of their crimes. As we've learned from active shooters, we learned from the stabbing at Grace Church, we learned from the shooting at the county, we've learned from many other crimes, even the ones that have been mentioned, I think with Bambi Larson. How is it that not arresting folks is going to help the crime situation for San Jose? Help me understand that.
Yeah, I think you may be misreading my memo. I think we're very much on the same page about rearresting those folks. I think, as you just heard from the deputy chief, that the point is simply that it does not improve public safety at all if we arrest someone who is released the same day. And that's what the public comment was, much of the public commentary today was also about. I think we're all very aligned on this. And I suspect you and I agree. The point here is that we need some clarity from our counterparts, to the point that Councilor Peralez made. We don't have jurisdiction or control over much of the criminal justice system. We can arrest people all day long, and if they're simply put back on the street the exact same day, we haven't actually had any positive impact. And so, as I've been working with our police department and community members, part of what I'm hoping for here, I think is very targeted and does not need to wait for some joint study session, is that we get greater alignment with the county around who they are willing to detain if we put our resources into arresting specific. There are a lot of high-risk reoffenders out there who have failed to appear. I want to make sure we're arresting the ones who the county's going to actually detain. Because if they're released the same day back into the community, we have wasted our officers' time and we've made the community not at all safer. And so I am hoping that when it comes to perpetrators of sexual assault and other violent crime, that the county will agree to change direction here and say, yes, if you spend the effort to go rearrest them, we will detain them. And that's the whole point here, is that's not what's happening today in many, many cases. So I think in terms of the notice on the memo, I will check in offline with the clerk's office and figure out why that didn't happen. And I apologize for that. But what I've basically done in the revised memo is just narrow the scope to make it a little more concrete. But I don't think it's not a different memo or a different direction at all. I think we're actually saying the same thing here.
Well, I think it's a predetermined action that I think it is. I'll be honest with you. I would prefer to have a conversation with our county counterparts about this strategy, and this might be something that's already in the works. It sounds like Lee is already working with establishing this conversation with our county folks. This might very well be a good strategy, but I think it's putting the cart before the horse to determine that we should have that we should have a focus on the kinds of arrests that we will want, because I'm not sure what those arrests are. So we will determine based on who the county, and I'm not comfortable with that. I don't currently we don't agree with who the county is not detaining. That's the principal concern here. So I'm not sure what would be solved, except that we will focus on arresting folks, offenders that the county will detain. But they're already they're already detaining them. We are just going to detain more of them.
If I can respond, that they're not detaining them, which is the point of this is to not wait for a long, sprawling meeting at some time in the future, but to say, hey, counterparts in the criminal justice system, we have some additional resources for police overtime to go rearrest high-risk offenders. We're going to have to make some decisions about how we deploy those resources. We would like a guarantee from you that you're going to actually detain the folks we rearrest before we move forward. This is a moment of leverage, a rare moment of leverage, where we're saying the public wants to see investments in public safety. We've allocated some additional resources. We're going to put some additional police overtime effort into rearresting high-risk offenders, people with a history of violent crime who failed to appear. We would like a commitment from the county that you're going to actually detain these folks rather than simply booking them and releasing them the same day. I mean, that is at the very heart of the problem we're discussing. So I'm a little confused about where the disagreement is. I am thrilled to hear that Lee and I were on the same wavelength, and that at least on recommendation 1, we were already doing this. So it sounds like we're in alignment, and this is pretty common sense, and I'm glad to hear it. I was not aware of that yet. What I did not want to do is have us wait until a study session sometime later in the year to start that process. I think we ought to get out there right away and start rearresting high-risk offenders. But I think to do that, we need some guarantee from the county. At least it would be ideal if we could use this moment of leverage to get a commitment from the county that they'll actually detain them, which has not been happening. So that's the only point in Rec 1. I'm not sure where we're disconnecting there or where the disconnect is, but that's the point.
Okay, well, let me read your memo. Hold on, I'm confused which is which of your memos. Hold on one second.
So you can put it on the screen for everyone.
Hey, Councilmember Arenas, while you're looking that up, I have a quick question for Councilmember Mahan.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember, you said several times that we have leverage. What exactly is our leverage?
I think there are two different things here that are an opportunity for us to continue this conversation with the county and ask them to play the role that I think many of us hope they will in the criminal justice system and dealing with the revolving door, as some have described it. The first is that we're making an additional commitment. We have taken, it's not a huge sum of money, but it's a statement of principle. We've done a budget allocation that we've approved a budget allocation that says we're going to go put extra resources into this because we want to highlight that this is an issue and we want to keep the community safe, and we're going to make a commitment. So as we make this commitment, dear partners over in the county, on the other side of this system that we jointly manage with different responsibilities in, would you also step up your commitment by giving us some guarantee that if we go rearrest high-risk repeat offenders who have failed to appear, that you're going to change policy a little bit and detain some of them and give us some direction? Will you detain them? Who? Is there a bar we need to meet? Is there information we need to provide? How can we work together here? But let's not just go spend a bunch of police overtime arresting people who are going to be released the same day. So that's a moment. I mean, that is a moment to go have that conversation. It's a little bit of public attention on the issue and us stepping up our commitment, and that's a moment to have that conversation. The second is that, and I'm not a lawyer, but in looking at the state constitution and the way that this entire process has changed since the beginning of COVID, it seems quite possible that the new process by which our county is administratively deciding who to release may not be in accordance with the state constitution. And at the very least, we ought to go do a little research, and before we go into a study session, we ought to have a perspective on that. We should have our lawyers take a look and say, do we believe that this is lawful? Because there's a lot at stake. We heard that in some of the public comment. We hear it from community members every day. There's a lot at stake here. And if we believe as a city that the county's actions are not lawful, and they're thereby putting our community at risk and costing us a lot of time and attention and resources to constantly rearrest people who aren't being held accountable, well, then maybe we should explore some legal recourse to challenging their approach. Now, that's a ways down the road. I mean, that's research we need to do, conversations we need to have, but I am not in favor of us saying, well, we don't have complete jurisdiction over the criminal justice system and public safety, and we only have a piece of it. So, you know, let's just kind of wait, and we'll talk to the other electeds some point in the future and see what happens. I think we ought to develop a perspective, do research, understand the law, and really have a good handle on what we think is right and be able to go in and advocate for our residents. And that's what I'm getting at here. And I'm trying to offer very concrete, targeted next steps before we have that study session that will move us forward. And it sounds like city attorney is very comfortable with that second rec and thinks it makes sense, and we can handle that in closed session. And it sounds like the city manager's office was already on a similar wavelength, thinking about how to best use the resources we've allocated to actually have an impact on public safety, to actually make people safer. So I don't quite understand why this common sense approach here is suddenly getting pushback. I don't quite understand. It sounds like we're all in agreement, frankly.
Yeah, and you're not getting any pushback from me. I'm just trying to understand, particularly based on my 7.5 years of experience, working with other government agencies, that, when I think of leverage, I think of either having some type of benefit that we could either provide or withdraw, or some type of punishment.
Well, I think it's a benefit for us to spend additional dollars in our officers overtime to go arrest high-risk offenders who put the community at risk. And I think it's a threat to consider whether or not what's being done is lawful. And so I think we've got a carrot and a stick here, both of which are targeted, appropriate, concrete things we ought to move forward before we go sit down and have a study session with the county.
Thank you. Councilmember Reyes, did you find the information you were looking for?
Yes, I did. But it seems like we're talking in circles here. So listen, what I think that we should do is really fall back to your original memo and your first item in your original memo, which really opens up the conversation and doesn't predetermine the strategy with the county. I think it's a good idea to first sit down and have a conversation with the county counterparts, and for staff to have those conversations. I don't think that we need to take it to the council necessarily. I just don't want the strategy to be predetermined. which it already we're already surmising what the solution is versus having a role listening session with our county counterparts on what strategy could work the best as they know their system. You said you're not a lawyer. Obviously, I'm not either. I don't know that system intimately well. So I would prefer that either the staff have a level of conversations to help guide the conversation for when the committees meet. I've had committee meetings with joint committee meetings with the county, and we have these conversations about what are your objectives? What do you want to achieve? How can we do that together? That's part of this collaborative approach. And to have a predetermination about a strategy, to me, doesn't come across as collaborative. We are on the same page, Councilmember Mahan, because I am just as invested in making sure that repeat offenders are behind bars, and that they don't escalate in terms of their crimes, because a lot of the times, and that the highest number of crimes happening out there are based on sexual assault. These are gender-based crimes, and it's gender-based violence that's happening out there. So I think that we need to make sure that we have a very broad conversation before we predetermine that we will only focus on those folks that they will detain. I don't know that we have any leverage over the county. I think our leverage is only that they want to meet with us and they are just as invested in finding a solution. I think that is leverage. I don't think establishing a strategy ahead of the conversation is going to lead us to a collaborative approach. Would you be willing to broaden your first item back to and default it back to what you had stated on your June 15th memo?
No, I think that the original version is appropriate for the joint session, and I think we totally agree there. I think having a far-ranging conversation that's very collaborative is great. It sounds like we largely agree, and the only point of disagreement is around whether or not we should start using officer overtime to rearrest folks who may be out the same day without even asking the county if they will reconsider their policy. And I think that defies logic and is wasteful of our officers' time and our taxpayers' dollars and does nothing to improve safety. I think it's great that our deputy city manager is planning to ask the county executive to actually detain folks, and who they're going to detain, at what point, at what threshold will they detain someone who we've rearrested potentially 3, 4, 5, I mean, in one case last year, 19 times. So I think we ought to ask them to detain folks if we're going to put in extra time and effort rearresting them. And I think that's a pretty simple ask. It's not predetermining a strategy. It's simply saying, let's let them know.
So an ask is a strategy. I mean, you have an ask on the table.
Yeah, I stand by that ask. I think it's a very
That's a proposal. That's a strategy. It's one in the same. It's one in the same. So I've asked you as a courtesy, but what I'm going to propose is to replace the first item that you had on your memo with the memo that you have on the June 15th item. And actually, I think, and I want to hear from the rest of my colleagues, I think that what we need to do is consider Councilmember Mahan's memo from June 15th. I think this second memo is premature, in that it very well could be the direction that you pose for the joint discussion. I just don't think that it should be determined now. But anyways, I won't make that motion, but I do want to hear from, just yet, but I do want to hear from my colleagues.
Okay, Councilmember Morenas, I don't have both memos up in front of me. Can you just explain the difference again, but talk to me like I'm 8 years old? Councilmember Morenas?
Sorry, oh, sorry, I was talking and I'm behaving like I'm 8 years old and I put myself on mute and started talking. Okay, so the first item of Councilmember Mahan's memo is direct the city manager to convene meetings with the SCC Office of Pretrial Services, the District Attorney's Office, and Public Defender's Office, Santa Clara County Pretrial and Presiding Criminal Judge, Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office, Santa Clara County Public Health, and department and other relevant county stakeholders to define criteria for considering an arrestee high risk and establish detention protocols for high risk individuals apprehended by the San Jose Police Department. The focus of the meeting should be to establish criteria for identifying high risk arrestees, taking into account the severity and frequency of current and past crimes, as well as whether there is a history of failing to appear in court, and protocols for detention to help prevent future crime. So that's the first item. The second item is to have the city manager return to council in September with the criteria and protocols established by the city of San Jose and our partners in county government, including an update from the San Jose Police Department on planned utilization of funds for rearresting high-risk individuals from the $300,000 approved within the operating budget. So that's his first original one, and then it evolves to the first one being direct the city manager to determine. Now it's determining prior to spending any of the $300,000 recently authorized by the council for San Jose PD's arrest of reoffending pretrial defendants, whether and which suspects will actually be kept in custody upon their rearrest. The city manager should do so through meetings with the county executive, sheriff, and presiding judge of the Superior Court, including the Office of Pretrial Services and the Department of Correction. The outcome of the meeting should enable the city manager to ascertain to which category of repeat offenders San Jose PD should direct its scarce resources for rearrest to avoid wasting resources on the rearrest of defendants likely to be re-released by the county or court immediately upon booking. And then the second part of this is to determine whether it's lawful. This is a direction for the city attorney, and it's separate from what he asked in the first item or in the first memo. And so I just, what I think is happening is there's already a direction for our city manager to focus on those folks who the county will detain, and we're assuming that the county will say, we're hoping, I think that the hope is that we're going to have this conversation with the county, and we're going to say, listen, all of these repeat offenders that for me would be sexual assault offenders I think are of the highest risk and not taken as seriously as they should be, because they're always released back into the community.
So I'm sorry, council member, I just want to make sure I understand. So your desire is to have it specifically addressed that we're talking about sexual offenders as opposed to
no. I was just I was just using that as an example, but because these are the folks who usually are getting released, Vice Mayor, these are the folks that we won't focus on, because those aren't the folks that are getting detained. So my worry is that we will follow what the pattern that's already established if indeed the county doesn't want to do anything different, if they legally can't detain anybody, i.e., for example, these sexual assault offenders, if they can't do it, then what Councilmember Mahan is saying, then we will focus only on those that will get detained. And that won't be sexual assault offenders, because usually they get re-released into the community. That is my greatest concern. And at this, at this venture, I don't know that I'm going to be supportive of any motion, because my one of the areas that I think that always gets ignored is sexual assault, and this is going to allow for that to continue to happen.
Thank you, Council Member. I'm gonna ask Lee for an assist. Lee, with all this feedback that we're getting, is there any way to reconcile what Councilmember Reyes and what Councilmember Mahan want to accomplish?
Sorry, I was smart enough to mute myself. I do think Councilmember Arenas makes a very good point. I will say the way I read recommendation 1, however, is that we're directed to ask the county who they're likely to keep detained. It is not a policy or an operational recommendation, nor could the council member make an operational recommendation on how we actually implement a program, on how we spend the $300,000, however. So as we move forward, and the assistant chief is happy to speak to it. One of the things that we will do as we go to embark on this is to ask this question of the county: who are you likely to detain, and who are you likely to keep in? From an efficiency standpoint, yes, we can maximize those dollars. However, as we build a program or any policy, we don't just examine based off of efficiency. We base it off a lot of different things. And I think to Councilmember Reyes' point, what I want to figure out, when we passed the budget, we said violent and serious felonies. That's a broad category. And I would absolutely believe that sexual assault is in there. And so, part of the meeting, that we wanted to have was to make a case for those to be included, quite frankly, because I think we've spent a lot of time on that at a lot of time at council with that, and have a deeper understanding of it. But I think, the way I read recommendation 1 from Councilmember Mahan's memo in the new memo is literally just to ascertain that information from the county to help inform how we build out a program. But you guys have, given us the direction to go ahead and allocate this money and to spend it. It's our job to figure out how to do that. I don't view Councilmember Mahan's memo at this point telling us to only focus on those that are likely to be detained. That is a suggestion or something that's compelling to him. But we do need to base off our own analysis and operational plans on more than just efficiency, for sure.
Okay, and Chief, Lee said you'd also be happy to speak to as well. Are you happy to speak to it?
I don't know if he's happy, but
okay. I'll just use your words, Lee.
Vice Mayor, I welcome the occasion. I spent a lot of time on meetings talking about how to ensure that people are not in custody, and I'd be grateful for the opportunity to talk about how some maybe should be.
Great. Thank you. Councilmember Reyes?
Oh no, that was my hand from previous. Sorry.
Okay, I didn't know if you had any additional comments. Councilmember Mahan?
Sorry, I think it was Councilmember Cohen next. I'll take my hand.
Okay, Councilmember Cohen.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of say that I think the conversation's gotten a little off track, and I think this is kind of shows the importance of trying to make sure we follow a procedure that's laid out. And I think with a memo that was submitted and then edited late in the game and caused confusion, I think that this shows why we should be following the process of having a memo and being able to focus on that specific memo. I appreciate what I heard from Lee, which is that staff, we rightfully trust staff to implement the budgetary decisions that we make as a council. And it sounds like staff is thinking it through in a thoughtful way, and will ask the appropriate questions to make sure that what we do isn't wasted money. I don't think anybody wants to waste our money. And I think, as Councilmember Mahan said, these common sense things are obvious to most of us. I do want to just point out that, when we have these concerns about whether or not the money is being spent in an appropriate way, or how things are going to be implemented, that it's important for us as council members to have those conversations with staff before submitting memos that were going to lead to these kinds of back and forth discussions. Because as I heard you say, Councilor Mahan, I'm surprised, or I didn't know that. I didn't know you were planning to already do that conversation. We really should know that. And that's part of our job in our office, is to have those conversations. So, I feel like, I don't know that there's more action for us to take today. I think we've had a good, thorough discussion and heard a lot of input from fellow council members about the kinds of directions that we'd like to take. And I think the staff should take that back and take action. And I think it's time to move on in the agenda.
Thank you for that, Councilmember Cohen. Councilman?
Yeah, I think it's time to move on as well. I'm glad to hear, I'm not sure why we had so much debate. I'm glad to hear that we're in agreement. The second rec is new, was not planned, and I think is valuable direction. If we don't need to vote on it, that's great. I think I do think that's new. I did hear from the clerk's office that there was a mistake in not circulating the new memo. So that happens. It was a revised memo that did not get circulated. So occasionally there are going to be mistakes like that. On the first, I think it is worth having the discussion. Lee mentioned offhandedly here that he was planning to integrate a discussion of this into his next meeting with the county executive, which is great. I think it is valuable for us as council members to be aware of those kinds of conversations and have a perspective on how we are implementing policy. We may not be determining operationally exactly what happens, but I think we should be pretty clear that rearresting folks who are released the same day is not very helpful. And we have an opportunity here to go make that pretty clear as we make an additional investment. That's kind of a unique moment and a unique opportunity for us to do a little bit of advocacy with the county to try to move them in the direction that we'd like to go. And I don't think there's anything wrong with us doing that.
Thank you. And before we go to Councilmember Prowse, I just want to say that I'm satisfied with Lee's direction and the comments that he made, incorporating all the input that he's received. So just want to say that that's satisfactory for me to move forward. Councilmember Perales?
Yeah, I'll just echo your comments. I'll say ditto on that. I think it actually was really helpful to have the understanding and perspective from Councilmember Arenas on sort of where that new recommendation 1 direction could have taken us, and just the caution that she provided that says, hey, let's not necessarily go out and predetermine based on one conversation with the county executive's office that, this is where we should be prioritizing our overtime, $300,000 overtime resources on arresting repeat offenders. Right. So I actually am happy that we had this conversation and sort of got down to where Lee responded with the conversation he'll have with the county exec's office to get an understanding, but that's not necessarily going to determine exactly how we roll out our program and our use of our $300,000. And that ultimately, it will help inform us before our joint study session, which I'm comfortable with, right? To have a better understanding before our joint study session. So that way, if we're not pleased with, the answer, as I think we likely aren't, and Councilmember Arenas has described as well, right? She's not pleased with some of the responses from the county on who is being prioritized or who is being held. And I think so that will help better inform us before that discussion. I am also comfortable with Lee's response in the conversation, Lee, that you'll have with the county exec. And so I don't think we need a motion to move forward. I think we have the clarity and look forward to the conversation in September.
Great, thank you very much. That's the last hand raised on this topic. We don't need a motion. So Lee, you have your direction.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So on to open forum.
Vice Mayor, Chair.
Yes.
I just raised my hand. I apologize.
sorry.
I did it really last minute. I just want to make, and thank you, Councilwoman Perales, for bringing that point back up. I want to make sure that because there isn't a motion on the floor, I just want to make sure that the direction that is taken and the utilization of these funds are spent. I don't want to make that predetermination because that's part of the problem, but I want to make sure that our sexual assault, the sexual assault offenders are targeted in the same way that the rest of the crimes are. And simply because they are not detained does not mean that they don't get rearrested. That's one of my greatest concerns about this strategy. When we have additional funding, we should be spending it on the crimes that are out there and that we don't normally talk about and put on next door, because sexual crimes are full of shame and those aren't the ones that are listed. But they're definitely some of the highest statistics in our city that are impacting young women of color and young men of color. So thank you.
Thank you. And Councilmember Mahan, I see you have your hand raised again.
We're wrapping up. I know we're.
I was gonna say, please make it quick. We've already.
It's not about D1 land use. No, I just want to say, I mean, I appreciate Councilor Aranis's point, and I in no way want to see that reduction, and I don't anticipate that, however this gets operationalized, that there's going to be any reduction in arrests there. I think it's a question about just incrementally, if we have enough hours to go arrest an additional 5 folks, I would assume we would all agree that we should focus on ones who will actually be attained. I think, detained, because arresting them to have them released the same day doesn't actually make anyone any safer. So I would assume, anyway, we've said a lot, but I don't in any way want to see a reduction in our focus on going after perpetrators of sexual assault. So I very much agree with that point and hope that that's clear.
Duly noted. Councilmember Perales, I'm assuming your hand is up from before. I will make that.
You assumed correctly. Sorry.
Hey, a broken clock is right twice a day. And I also want to thank Councilmember Reyes for explaining things to me like an 8-year-old, but you also have to send me some goldfish in a juice box. So on to open forum. Tony?
Claire Beekman.
Hi, thanks for that last item. It was interesting. At this time, this country is basically at war in the Ukraine. At the local level, we need to keep cool heads and even thinking to continue the practices of a democracy that is dedicated to openness and peace as how to solve our problems and issues. I hope racial equity and health and human services ideas, its guidelines and its organization can still be considered as important at this time, rather than a continued over-reliance on law enforcement and surveillance tech, and as how to consider the needs and questions of law enforcement and surveillance tech and data collection. In the San Francisco Bay Area and in San Jose, even as we are trying to get a handle on current crime issues, we should not be afraid to continue to openly consider our better ideals, values, and principles, some I have previously listed, to more openly question the overall long-term planning ideas, needs, and goals of local police departments, including the SJPD and the SJPOA. This is the balance and purpose of this new era of Reimagine. And from this, I hope, I think people of our community want to get involved, and they're wanting to question what can be ideas of peace, and not war and not harm, and they want to work in these good terms in our community at this time. Good luck how we're trying to work towards those goals here in San Jose and in the Bay Area and throughout the country. And good luck how we can be open to address the SRO issue in San Jose. I think that's an issue that I hope can remain open and good discussion can take place, that we can eventually reduce its numbers. The future of the military industrial complex, I think we can really address that in law enforcement, and good luck how we can. We have issues of crime. It's a long process, but we need our good ideals to talk about these things, and it should be open subject matter. Good luck how we can do that. And a really interesting meeting yesterday on the future of District 1 issues and building ideas. Good luck with mixed income ideas and a whole community process. Thank you.
Back to the committee.
All right, Councilmember Moranis, I see you have your hand raised. Council member? All right. Well, we're gonna adjourn the meeting and take care, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.